everyone, this is Group 19. We are presenting on the paradox. If critical thinking is critical to development, why do people, even educated, find it difficult to think critically?
Have you ever wondered why even highly educated people sometimes make decisions without questioning them? The truth is, critical thinking is not simply about being intelligent or having any qualities. As human beings, we naturally prefer comfort, confidence, and fitting with each other rather than deeply examine our belief and ideas. This passage argues that education also does not guarantee critical thinking because many systems focus more on certificates than on asking different questions. Today, we will explore why critical thinking is so difficult and why developing this skill is essential in our daily life. With that in mind, let's hear from the next hand.
Critical thinking is important for development because progress depends on making good decisions. In everyday life, government, business, healthcare, and education, people face problems that require careful thinking and sound judgment. Without critical thinking, decisions may be based on emotions, assumptions, or false information. According to Derry, 1910, critical thinking involves reflecting carefully, questioning ideas, and examining evidence before making conclusions. This helps people make informed choices and consider different perspectives. At the social level, critical thinking supports democracy and social development by helping citizens evaluate information, avoid manipulation, and hold leaders accountable.
I go by the name JC Samuel. I'm here to present on cognitive and psychological bias. One reason many people struggle with critical thinking is that the human mind does not always process information in a completely logical way. Even though people like to believe that they make decisions based on their beliefs and reason. Psychological research shows that our thinking is often influenced by emotions, personal beliefs, and mental shortcuts. These factors can make it difficult to examine information carefully and reach objective conclusions. A useful explanation for this comes from Daniel Kahneman's theory of thinking. In his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, Kahneman explains that people use two different systems of thinking. The first, known as System 1, is quick, automatic, and based on intuition. The second, System 2, is slower and requires deliberate effort and careful analysis. Critical thinking mainly depends on System 2 because it involves questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, and considering different perspectives. However, many people prefer to rely on System 1 because it is easier and requires less mental effort. As a result, they jump to conclusion without fully examining the fact. A common barrier to critical thinking is confirmation bias. This is when people pay attention only to information that supports their argument or judgment and ignore evidence that challenges their views. For example, a person who strongly supports a political party may focus only on news stories that praise that party while dismissing reports that criticize it. This makes it difficult to think objectively and can lead to poor judgment.
The Dunning-Kruger effect is another physiological factor that affects critical thinking. According to Dunning and Kruger, people with limited knowledge or skills in a particular area often overestimate their abilities because they do not fully understand the subject and they may not realize their mistakes. This false confidence can prevent them from seeking new information or accepting corrections from others. Emotions can also influence the way people think. Feelings, such as fear, anger, pride, and excitement, can sometimes cloud judgment and make it difficult to evaluate situations fairly.
Hi, my name is Bsba, and I'm here to talk about education and social barriers. The ability to think critically is not only influenced by psychological matters. Education and social environment also influence people's ability to think independently. Some teaching methods and social pressures can discourage people's ability to think independently. One of the most common educational barriers is rote learning, where students focus on memorizing stuff instead of understanding and analyzing it. While memorization helps students retain information, it does not necessarily teach them how to analyze ideas, evaluate evidence, or solve unfamiliar problems. As a result, some students may achieve high grades but struggle to apply it in their daily lives. According to Robert Ernest in 1996, critical thinking involves careful and reflective judgment, which goes beyond simply remembering facts. Another challenge is authority dependence, where students accept information from teachers, lecturers, or experts without questioning it. In school, students may believe that teachers are always correct, and instead of asking questions, they avoid it and go with whatever the teacher tells them. The same pattern can occur in society, where individuals blindly follow political leaders, religious figures, or experts without questioning their decisions or claims. In 1910, John Dewey emphasized that education should encourage inquiry and reflection rather than passive acceptance. When people rely too heavily on authority figures, they may lose the ability to think independently.
Social conformity also limits critical thinking because people may follow popular opinion just to fit in. In addition, echo chambers, especially on social media, exposes people only to similar views and reduces exposure to different perspectives. Overall, critical thinking grows in environments or communities that encourages questioning, open discussions, and independent thinking.
Talking about why education does not guarantee critical thinking. Formal education, even at its highest level, does not consistently guarantee or cultivate critical thinking. This paradox exposes a troubling gap between schooling and intellectual development. It challenges the assumption that academic achievement necessarily equates for independence thought and closer examination of how educational systems may prioritize conformity and rote learning over inquiry and analysis. An explanation lies in the distinction between credentialism and intellectual humility. According to Collins, 1979, credentialism refers to the cultural tendency to equate qualifications with intellectual competence and authority. People claim to be educated and have memorized a lot of facts, but still accept information without questioning it. Therefore, education provides knowledge, but critical thinking shows how we use the knowledge. Thank you.
As said earlier, education does not always guarantee critical thinking. In higher education, students may also depend too much on accepted ideas and authority, which can lead to opportunity instead of independent thinking. Overall, critical thinking develops through continuous questioning, reflection, and practice, not education only.
To promote critical thinking, changes are needed in our education, industries, and societies. In education, teaching should move beyond simple giving information and instead of encouraging discussions, question, and active learning, students should be taught that intelligent and critical thinking can grow through effort and practices. For example, in our classroom, shift for simple developing facts and encouraging open discussion and active learning teaches students growth mindset that critical thinking is a skill developed through effort, not an inherent trait.
My name is Samalaminta Boati. To conclude, critical thinking is challenging because people often prefer comfort, quick decision, and social acceptance rather than questioning ideas. Although education provides knowledge, it does not always encourage independent thinking. However, critical thinking can be developed through curiosity, open-minded, and learning from mistakes. Ultimately, it requires courage to seek truth, question assumptions, and change one's view when necessary.